Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.
Michigan author Angeline Boulley is an enrolled member of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians and has written her third book in a best-selling series about justice-seeking young people in her Ojibwe community. In Sisters in the Wind, we meet Lucy Smith, whose experiences in the foster system make for a thrilling, eye-opening, and satisfying stories. And what a thrill indeed to have the author herself back in the kitchen.
My pleasure.
Oh,
my pleasure.
Thank you so much for saying yes to this. So what is this book about?
Gosh, 18-year-old Lucy Smith ages out of the foster care system. She learns about her Ojibwe identity, and an attorney offers to connect her with her family who has been searching for her whole life. And but if foster care has taught her anything, it's to trust no one.
Okay, wow, okay, that's a very good, trust the author to know how to summarize it. So, we are making kind of comfort food for teenagers who could use it, right? So what are you making for us today?
I am making the world's easiest chicken soup.
Okay. With ravioli, so...
Tortellini.
Tortellini, okay,
Okay,
yeah, beautiful.
So
you're gonna get some sauteing stuff started. I'm gonna make a sort of elevated mac and cheese, and then later some greens, which appear in the book. So, what are you getting started here? And I'm gonna cut up some cauliflower.
How I'm getting started is
oil and
some butter. Yeah. I like to start with just a little bit of canola oil, and then I put in my butter, because butter is everything.
I know, we're both starting pans with butter, so imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
And then to keep things really easy, I'll just do a cup of diced celery and onions. Right. And I like to get a good sear on it.
So and while you're doing the base of that there, I'm just simmering a little bit of cauliflower here. Let's talk about the one of the bases of the novel in all of your books. Well, let's talk about where it fits in the series. So this is the third in the series.
This is the third of four.
So, and they take up the elements.
Yes. So this book is Element of Air. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that. I tie in a lot with fire. Mm-hmm. And I think about teens in foster care as kind of emerging from the ashes and just kind of like blown to the winds. And some land on their feet, and unfortunately some don't. And so I just wanted to tell a story that is about the different outcomes for children in foster care.
Right, and it's connected to, in your novels we always learn something about policy, so this leans into your past, your professional, before you became a famous novelist. I don't know if you want to talk about that just for a moment, because it's that background is just evident in all of your books.
Oh, well, so I'm active in my Native community, and the Indian Child Welfare Act is something that's vital in keeping when teens do have to go into foster care. Yeah. If you follow the act, the tribe can exert jurisdiction and look for foster placements within the family, mm-hmm. the extended family, and then looking elsewhere in the Native community. And then even with other tribes, because we know that when teens have a connection to their culture, they have much better outcomes. Mm-hmm. Education, health, behavioral health, just everything is better with a connection to culture.
So that is, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. This is a book also of definitely highlighting the problems of the system, but also you offer solutions. So let's talk about Lucy. Somehow you have created yet another teenage character I just feel very bonded with. So I think this is just like one of the real gifts. This is young adult crossover, but your teen characters, I think, just speak to everything that's feisty and justice-seeking in all of us. So let's talk a little bit about Lucy and how she came to mind for you and how you created her.
Well, it's interesting. Okay, you know how in Star Wars, when there's the scroll at the beginning of Episode 4, A New Hope?
Yes, nice.
Yes, the original Star Wars film. And it references that the rebels have acquired stolen plans of the Death Star. That's just one sentence in that whole screed.
Yeah.
And I thought, I always wanted to tell Jamie's story. Jamie's a character from Firekeeper's Daughter, and he mentions having been adopted out of his tribe and not really having any connection with his family. And I thought, how could I tell his story? Well, I thought, what if he becomes an attorney? And what if he is committed to helping Native teens in foster care to connect with their families when the Indian Child Welfare Act is not followed? And that's how he meets Lucy. And I thought, what better way to connect to Sugar Island than
wonderful.
To have one character who is mentioned in Firekeepers but not by name. Lily, Donis's best friend in Firekeepers, mentions a half-sister that she has never met, that's being raised by that child's father. And so I thought, what if we give that character a name, a very sheltered background, and then when her father passes away when she's 13,
shocking.
She ends up in the foster care system.
Okay, yeah, wonderful. Oh, that's bad. I appreciate the way those all these stories connect, and we should emphasize that while these books, it's extremely rich to read them in order, but they're standalone. You can definitely read them, but if you read them out of order, you might get curious to, the backstories of some of these other characters.
And that would not be a bad thing.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I'm just making a sort of classic white sauce here with some milk and butter and flour as the base before I add in some cheeses. I've got little bit of poultry seasoning here. This is a recipe from the cheesy edition of Edible Michiana. It's cauliflower and cavatappi and cheese. You can put whatever kind of cheese you want in it. I've got some Gouda and some smoked cheese, and that is a thing of beauty. So there's the searing that you said you like to.
The searing. I like to get a nice little bit of color on these basic
so that just adds lots of depth. So Lucy is a reader. I think this is something. This would be an awfully fun book to read in a book group. But probably if you're watching this, you will know most of the books that Lucy mentions as being important to her. And how does she become a reader? It's such a moving part of her story.
Oh, thank you for that. First, I'm going to add about a cup of corn. I'm going to add, this is eyeballing it, about a cup of carrots.
Nice.
And then I'm going to put in 2 cups of just your favorite basic broth. I like a bone broth. Then we're going to do... this is about a cup, but actually I say 2 cups of chicken.
Okay, so already cooked and shredded.
Shredded. And then you're going to put in 2 cups of tortellini. And my friend, that is it.
So super cozy and a nice one too. You could probably add other vegetables that you liked if you want.
Yep.
And same with this one. This is pretty simple here. Now I'm kind of wishing I had a little bit more cheddar in here just for color. But so I'm going to pour this over the pasta and the cauliflower here, and I'm going to let this just stir for a minute, and then we'll put some breadcrumbs and parsley on top. So how does Lucy get to become a reader?
Well, her father is an English teacher, and her father has difficulty expressing emotion.
Yeah.
So the books that he gifts to Lucy, there's like a message. It's all of the books involve a father and daughter. And so whatever he's trying to get across to her,
And on her birthday, right?
On her birthday. So A Wrinkle in Time is one of my all-time favorite books. A Little Princess, you know, just that.
And starting as a child with Owl Moon, which for so many of us, this, you know, beautiful picture book. So she has 13 of them. And why does she only have 13?
Because her father passes when she's 13, so she does not get a 14th book. And I forgot to add my herbs de Provence.
Oh, very nice.
I like a nice.
Yes. And
So I'll put in 2 tablespoons of that.
And this, I gotta say, Ashley, when she wrote this recipe, encouraged you to use fresh thyme, but I've got all my fresh thyme in my yard is under the snow right now. So I'm gonna put this on top. This gives it a nice cheesy, crusty top, so delicious.
Yes.
So we've gotten Lucy to the point where she's about to head into the foster system, and we will pick that up right after a break. We're going to see some images of the spaces where this novel takes place. We will be right back. All right, sizzling this baked cauliflower and pasta here. So one of the lines that just really stuck with me is the ultimate survival game is for girls to live to adulthood, and we're so invested in these characters. So you want to say a little bit about the role that plays, and then we'll maybe have you read a little from the book.
Sure. So as Lucy learns, you know, her sister Lily, this is an event from the first book, is shot by a toxic boyfriend.
Right.
And I think there need to be more stories for teens about healthy teen dating relationships and the toxic ones, so that they know the symptoms of being in something that's not healthy. And
there's so many older characters who are wonderful mentors, gentlemen, and men who see Lucy's intellect. It really is tremendously moving. So if you would read that passage, it just really stuck with me, this description of family structure, which happens about halfway through the book. And who is this Jamie?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So
the
Lucy,
lawyer,
Lucy asks Jamie, what's the difference between a native family and a family that isn't native? And he says, a native social worker told me it's the difference between peas and onions. Non-native social workers and court personnel think of families as peas in a pod. They're all lined up in the pea pod. They all look the same. When you open the pod, the peas scatter. Native families are like onions, rough looking on the outside. People want to peel away the outer layers and toss them away as if they have no value. But each layer is protecting the next, down to its innermost core, that green center where the onion is the sweetest. That's the native child, surrounded by layers of family and community.
Oh God, it really is so moving. So part of the book is just ways that Lucy finds comfort and ways that people comfort her. So that leads us to what you are making in this section. So what is the dish that you're fixing here?
So what I'm fixing here is, in the book it's angel food cake, but I did a pound cake, which also works. So I put that in my dish, and then I melted one stick of butter. And if you do this recipe, please get the best quality of butter that you can.
I saw that. Yes, Irish butter.
Yes, and this is unsalted butter.
Okay.
So I went with a nice Irish butter.
Okay.
And then we're going to add a little bit of the cherry juice.
So this
just
is
to
going to
kind
be
of help
pink,
us.
isn't it?
Yes, in theory it should be. And then you're just going to add powdered sugar.
Okay.
And whisk.
So someone makes this for, who is it who makes this for Lucy on her birthday?
When the story begins, Lucy is starting out as a waitress at a diner.
Oh, that's right. Yes, of course.
And
she's got some attitude,
this
I gotta
isn't gonna
say.
My pink, I should have gone with a butter we're getting there. We're getting there.
So she's, for anybody who's ever waited tables, I just absolutely love her.
Yeah, her coworker.
She's got some, but Lucy herself has some real attitude about.
Yeah.
If you ever feel like you're being judged by the people who are waiting your table, you probably
are. And so her coworker wants to commemorate Lucy's 6 months at the diner.
That's right.
And her coworker Nancy is this older, like OG, just original,
been doing that
waitress,
work forever.
Been doing it forever. And working with Lucy, she has told Lucy at least a dozen or more times that Lucy resembles someone. She wishes she could place where this person that she thinks Lucy resembles. And so Nancy doesn't know that Lucy's actually planning to leave because she feels that someone from her past is after her. And so they enjoy this little 6-month anniversary little cake, how sometimes a restaurant will bring out a complimentary cake. So they do that to celebrate Lucy's 6 months at the diner. And she goes to thank her coworker after the diner is closed. And there's an explosion. This happens very early in the book.
So we're going to work very hard not to reveal any plot spoilers. There's a series of explosions, many of which the reader doesn't fully understand, and neither does Lucy. So you have to keep reading. And I'm here making something sort of bitter on the other side of your beautiful sweet thing. So Jamie makes a very nourishing meal of manicotti, which was too hard to make, and greens, sauteed greens. So I'm doing some easy sauteed greens here, starting with the stems of some, I just think it's so pretty, rainbow Swiss chard. So give those a little bit of extra time to cook with some shallots and garlic and a little bit of red pepper, and then I'll saute the rest of this and finish it with a little lemon juice and rind here. So there's the structure of this book is extremely complicated. So, there's the pink. Success. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the decision you made there and the challenge of that? It works fabulously for the reader.
I try to challenge myself as an author with each book. So my challenge in the first book is just to get it done.
Yes.
The second book, it's to write a character who is totally different than Donis, the main character in the first. And for my third book, I wanted to challenge myself with time, telling a story on 2 different timelines. And the trick is to only reveal enough in the flashback that it informs what's going on, but it doesn't jump ahead of where the reader is getting to know the character. So
it does. I do feel like this book should come with a warning. Don't plan to do anything else while you're reading this. It really, the plot just, you move back and forth in time, so you're seeing Lucy learn more about the policies that have shaped her family life, learn more about her family life. And because she's a teenager, she's changing very quickly. So, she's growing the way we do when we're teenagers. Every time she's, has a new friendship, a new relationship, and because she's in the foster care system, she's finding new people all the time. So actually, we should maybe talk about the title, where that comes from. All these sisters who sort of blow in and out of her life.
Yes. So I think of a child or teen in crisis and needing foster placement. I think of them as like being tossed into the flames and rising from the ashes and carried on the winds to wherever. And some find their footing and emerge okay, and some don't. The foster care system can be really rough, and there are foster families that have the best intentions and do a really great job, and there are others that do not. And so trying to tell a balanced story within that. But if I wanted to get back to one thing, and it was the parking lot after Lucy, there's the explosion at the diner. Lucy lands in the parking lot next to Nancy, and they're both, injured.
Covered in,
And Nancy says to her, "I see it now, Lucy. You look just like your mother." And that's like, what?
Yes, a mother who has not been part of
her life
at all.
Right.
So we start to, we know we're about to learn a much bigger story. And characters from the previous books come into the story in a variety of ways. The book is also, I want to just emphasize, about some solutions too. So there's, plenty that is wrong with these policies, but Jamie in particular has ideas about ways that things could be done better.
Yes, and in really publicizing when the Indian Child Welfare Act is followed properly, the success stories, and wanting that to come out too. So what I'm going to do now is I have my cake. I'm going to drizzle my frosting over it.
Okay, it does look wonderfully pink, and we've got this whole theme here.
Yes.
So
we have this.
That looks great.
And we are going to smooth it over a little bit, make it all nice and pretty.
All right, and then you're going to top it. We're going to have to take a little break here. So you want to show us how? Oh, gorgeous. Okay, yum. I'm ready to dig into that. So we're going to take a break while Angeline finishes topping. That looks fabulous. And these cook. And we're going to look at some images from Angeline Boulley's wonderfully rich Instagram. So great pictures of this book and other things. We'll be right back. Angeline Boulley and I have made dishes inspired by Sisters in the Wind. So you made some soup?
Yes, we're going to call this a cozy chicken tortellini soup.
Okay, lovely. And then
and
this beautiful dessert.
This is
gorgeous.
maraschino cherry pound cake.
Okay, that's suitable to serve a teenager on her birthday.
Yes.
And I've made a cheesy noodle and cauliflower bake and some sauteed greens inspired by Jamie the chef in the book. And the fourth book in the series is, can you give us a little teaser?
Opens at a pipeline protest rally, follows the element of water. And they say you can tell how a society values its water by how they treat their women.
Okay, and that every time you say that, my hair just stands up. Really riveting. Again, you can read these in any order. It's pretty fun to read them in order, but if you read them out of order, you'll be inspired to go back and learn more about some of these backstories.
Exactly.
So can you tell us a little bit about this resource of ways that other readers can support Native
Sure.
creatives?
There's a website, American Indians in Children's Literature. They provide a curated list for readers, viewers to support Native creatives. So these are lists of the best picture books, chapter book, middle book, adult, young adult, graphic novels, and they're all curated. They're books by Native Americans about their communities.
Okay, so all of us adventurous readers, that would be a great thing that we can do to support. So miigwech for joining us here.
Thank you
This is just
so
such an
much.
honor. These books are fantastic. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you continue to read widely and cook adventurously. We'll see you next time on Dinner and a Book.
Wisanin, let's eat.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, wonderful.
This WNIT local production has been made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Dinner and a Book is supported by the Rex and Alice A. Martin Foundation of Elkhart, celebrating the spirit of Alice Martin and her love of good food and good friends.